Niels, welcome to the Tech Growth Show. Super happy to have you on and excited for the conversation today. Welcome.
Thank you.
No, absolutely, absolutely. So, just curious, what actually motivated you to name the company Zafehouze? Why is that?
Literally, it is that if you're looking at intelligence agencies, when they operate safe houses, it's a clandestine way of or spot or place where they can do business in relative security without being detected, without being understood or known or seen from the outside world. So it's the same thing we do for companies. We turn their IT infrastructure into something we called a protected or actually a controlled protected digital environment. And that's why we're called Safehouse.
Okay, very nice, very nice. And can you elaborate? I think we were discussing a little bit earlier before the show. You're wanting to change the world. Like, what do you mean by that in regards to security?
Because security, in the way that it's called detect and response by all the frameworks, NIST and ISO and CIS and whoever that is out there, it's a reactive model. Once the burglar is already in your house, taking pictures of your furniture, he hasn't stolen them yet because he's just going to public sites or sites to actually sell them. And when he has sold them, he come and pick them up at your house. But you don't know it before he's actually in the house. And that means that it's a reactive defense model where you're trying to figure out what they're doing and monitoring and alarm systems and bars in the windows and barbed wire and a lot of other things you need to add to your house to keep the burglars out. What we do is on proactive. So when somebody is looking into your house, there's absolutely nothing of value. They can't see it, they can't detect it. And that's what we can do. Think of a game where you can have a profile where you see all the buildings and all the animals and all the things you're fighting against. Okay, so you're very intrigued by that. When I enter the same game, there's just a flat mark or a bare field. There's nothing. So that's what we do.
Okay, for sure. And you guys operate in a pretty competitive market from what it seems. Do you feel like some of the toughest challenges that you guys have faced early on, and how did you guys overcome them?
You're touching a very good question here because sorry, need to just cancel that one. Well, what we do is actually that we cannot go up against the industry and saying we have much more security than, for instance, Microsoft, Cisco, or Fortinet, or Palo Alto, or whatever, because they're just much bigger than we are, revenue-wise, profit-wise, and so on. They have a marketing budget that is a gazillion times bigger than our revenue. So the point here is actually that we cannot sell them security, even though we are much more secure than these guys are, and can bring a platform that's much more secure. But the point here is actually we need to make the experience, the user experience, more enjoyable, if you like. I cannot go out and say I'm 10 times more secure than these guys are, because there's no measure of that. But I can actually say I'm 10 times more enjoyable to work with than the other guys are. So that's the experience that we are trying to hone into or focus on. And give people, I love when I meet a smiling person on the street. It could probably be one of my customers. That's the whole point. People can get them happy.
And you talk a lot about security as a feeling. Can you explain that?
Yeah, the thing is actually that there's security is always divided up into risk assessment, threat analysis, and a lot of other things. But you cannot grab that. There's risk all over the place. You have a different risk when you're going to work than I have. Okay.
Yeah.
We can discuss that. But there's somebody coming from a consulting company say, I have a very good risk model here where I can do the assessment, and I have a lot of questions that I can ask you, and then we can do some checking the boxes. The problem is, as a real security practitioner, I cannot use that for anything except that it's a very nice thing to look at. But it doesn't, the Russian hacker, the Chinese hacker, the North Korean hacker, the Iranian, the American, the English, the Danish hacker, they don't bloody care about that stuff. They hack your system anyway, no matter how many ticks in the boxes you have. So the fun part is actually that security is an emotional feeling. You cannot buy security. You can buy protection. You can buy stuff that is actually helping you to understand what is the the impact. Let's say you are up against a boxer, and the boxer, he's not able to throw a punch at you, so
Yeah.
there is no impact. Then
Yeah.
at the rationale is actually now there's no risk either, because you can meet anybody. If they can't hit you, well, there's no risk. There's no threat. There's no impact. You will always avoid everything that they're throwing at you. But the security industry, they're actually selling helmets to the boxer or you. So if
Yeah.
you get hit, the helmet might take some of the punch, okay, the force in the punch, so not ending up in hospital or worse.
Yeah.
But so everybody in the industry is selling helmets, okay, and my helmet is better than your helmet. Come on, okay, that's not security. Security is actually not selling helmets. The guys that are selling helmets think they're doing, security a favor, and
Okay.
and they're selling it saying, yeah, you will not get a brain damage by using our helmet. And you know what? I will guess that everybody on the planet that is buying security products, they have a headache. They are just called a cyber crime headache.
Yeah.
They just don't know it yet, or they have found out maybe that the solutions they're buying, they're really not effective.
Okay.
82% of all CIOs say the current security solutions are not effective. So, it's a massive number. That's 4 out of 5.
Yeah. No, and
And,
it's
and just look at the number, Ethan. Just look at the numbers out there. Okay.
yeah.
1 hour cybercrime cost, defending that was in 2001, and it's an FBI report, was
Yep.
$2,000.
Yeah.
20 years later, in 2021, it was $787,000 per hour.
There you
That's
go.
383 times more, which
Yeah.
if you prorate that out to 2041, that would be an hourly cost of $300 million. Nobody can afford that.
Yeah.
We have to understand in this industry, we need to change the way we do security. We need
Okay.
to bake in, we need to put it into our systems and solutions so it cannot be subverted.
And you say you have to change what you're doing. How do you actually go about? Because a big part of it is the education side of things and getting, for example, the CIOs or the CISOs that you're speaking with, the companies that you're speaking with to understand this. So how do you at Zafehouze actually go about getting people to understand that and educating them on that?
Yeah, we backed up a little bit because the thing is that we're technologists. Okay, I've been 42 years in the IT. I've done anything. I've created computers or manufactured computers and software for all my life. And the point is actually once you understand how communication works, once you digest all the steps that somebody that is trying to compromise you is going to do, that's called the kill chain. Once you understand that you have dissected 1,000 attacks, and you can see a common pattern here,
Yep.
you can technology-wise go in and say, how do I avoid that a hacker can do reconnaissance? How can I avoid they can do network scanning and port scanning?
Yeah.
And then you can build a solution that can do that. But the problem is now it's coming to identity. So how can I avoid that the identity of you can be picked up by anybody and used or abused?
Yep.
And we need to put in a technology that can do that. And when you're combining all this, it's called guardrail, microparameter, comply to connect.
Okay.
And guardrail is like you have a 1 mile high staircase, okay? That is like 50 centimeters wide, and there's
Mhm.
no guardrails there. And you walk down of that, you will be a little bit shaky. I'm sure. I would be shaky.
Yep.
But if you put up guardrails that are really, really solid, there's no problem. You will just say, I have good guardrails here. I can actually follow all the 1 mile down, no problem. I'm safe and secure. I'm being taken care of. And
Mhm.
that's what guardrail security is doing. Microparameter is doing this, that all the different elements that you have, there's a little microparameter around that. So if you touch the ID of you, it will implode. If you
Yeah.
if you touch the encryption that is being used, it implodes. It doesn't work anymore.
Yes.
And that means that you're keeping the bad guys away and out.
For sure.
Um, Okay, and comply to connect the last bits and pieces actually that is looking into the environment. And when you put a technology together like that and you put it into operation and
Mhm.
people are trying to hack it, they will very fast understand that you can't really get into it without being invited in. So that's what we do.
Okay, for sure. And how has y'all's marketing strategy changed over time as you've grown the business? Maybe you've changed spaces, and like what has been sort of the most effective for you in order to drive growth?
in the beginning, we were just angry old guys going out and say to people, "You're stupid. You don't know what you're talking about, and this is you need to change the way you look at the world."
Yeah.
And 3 years later, you're sitting and saying, "Okay, fine, that strategy is not really working well.
Mhm.
We need to grab people in the hand and lead them towards a better place."
Yeah.
So if it takes like we do that on a one by one basis, we need to do that. We need to just say, okay, who has the biggest headache? Let's meet them and help them,
Yeah.
and permanently get rid of that headache.
Mhm.
The fun part is actually that SafePass Prevent and Protect is not a security solution. It's an access to resource solution, but it's built
Mm.
in a way where you cannot add any security on the planet into the platform, making it more secure.
Okay.
You cannot take anything out either. And if you don't like what we do, don't buy it. It's
Yeah,
simple as that.
fair enough. Fair
So,
enough. And
so to answer your question, our strategy has changed to actually be a little bit more, from the confronting side to actually more on the supportive, inclusive, trying to understand, help, because there's a lot of frustration out there, and we certainly need to address this in a different way.
for sure. And what specific models do you use in order to get in contact with the people in order to actually educate them and provide that value? Because I hear a lot of different things. Some people are doing outbound. Some people post a lot on LinkedIn. I was talking with someone yesterday who does a YouTube channel to do it. Like, what do you guys do at Zafehouze, and what's worked?
We need to beef up on that. We have spent 12 half man years to actually code and develop our product. We don't have any, everything is paid for, so there's no depth in the company.
Okay.
That also means that we are a little bit lacking on the marketing side.
Okay.
And we have used LinkedIn a lot. We have used a little bit on YouTube, and very much direct mailing, or I would call cold calling or cold canvassing.
Yeah.
And of course, when we're talking to people, they understand what we're doing. They say, this is great. We have NDA with everybody, or non-disclosure agreements with everybody,
Yeah.
and that means that we cannot disclose, and we don't disclose any names of any companies that are using our technology.
Uh-huh.
So that's another problem in marketing. Everybody likes to have, yeah, can you show us some references? And we say, no, we can't, because you don't want to be a reference. And to touch base on why we do that is actually that when you install SafePass in an organization and you tell the world, now I have actually installed the most secure solution on the planet,
Yeah.
then there's another problem coming up. That is, there are people out there saying, oh, well, I'll show you, okay? And
Yeah.
then they do a DDoS attack on their website and a lot of other things that are not controlled by SafePass.
Mhm.
So we don't want to, put them in a position where they are exposed of something on the other side that is not, operated within SafePass. So that's why we don't do it.
Absolutely. That totally makes sense. And you have a similar thing in like sometimes when you're selling marketing, people are like, oh, I want to see references, blah, blah, blah. But like at some point, people could go and like steal systems that you've implemented for them. Or like a good example is like ghostwriting, right? If you're like ghostwriting for someone on like LinkedIn or whatever, it's like, well, I can't really give you a reference because these people don't want, people to know that they're not actually the ones writing the posts. So it's sort of similar. And I'm sure you could draw analogies to tons of different fields.
Exactly, and what we do is, of course, if a defense customer want to talk to another defense customer, we link them up directly,
Yeah.
and that's okay. But I don't have names on my websites or anything for customers or governments that are using our technology.
Yeah, absolutely. And what do you feel like is like, are you guys looking at expanding into any new markets, any new initiatives that you guys are launching going into 2025? I guess I'm asking, like, what are your main things you guys are wanting to achieve with Safehouse in 2025? What does that look like?
Well, we are, originally out of Denmark, and we're still a Danish company, and we continue to be so.
Mhm.
Personally, I don't have any problems with the US, but I have a problem with actually all the backdoors that they need to do because of Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, FISA 702,
Yeah.
and other things that the American industry is actually bound by US government by. But we're actually global. We have customers in Europe. We have customers in Africa, and in Africa is very, very interesting because they don't have a lot of money, but they would like to have a lot of security. And our solution is not that expensive, so we're actually having some very decent traction down there. We have a proposal just out now for one government for the whole population
There you
using
go.
Zafehouze. Yeah, but if it works, it works. If it doesn't work, well, it's a very nice gimmick. But anyway,
Yeah.
a whole country using our technology, that could be awesome.
Yeah. What would be some of the What would be some of the problems or bottlenecks that would achieve if you suddenly had all those people signing up? Like what would be the next thing for Zafehouze then?
Exactly. We would love if we can do a deal like that, and that's what we are aiming for in 2025.
Okay.
So we are very much exposed in the defense business, the energy business, transportation. Not so much in the pharma as we actually expected, but then governments understand. There's a fun thing about governments. They like to spy on other people, but they don't like to be spied on.
Yep.
So when we can say to them, hey, listen, everybody can actually try compromise Zafehouze, they will not be successful. Then they say, that's could we use it for this and this and this? Yeah, of course. So
Yeah. It's you could probably make some fun analogies with like a jealous girlfriend or a jealous boyfriend or something like that. You could probably make some good analogies there. Uh, okay, and I guess what do you feel like at this stage has been sort of the biggest frustration that you faced within Zafehouze? And then like what did you guys do to actually overcome that? Or maybe you're still overcoming that.
the biggest frustration we have is actually that there's a lot of IT people in organizations, and I need to excuse them a little bit because they are, as me, brought up in an industry for 30, 40 years where we have gradually evolved, but evolved in the wrong direction, I would say.
Okay.
So when we created PCs in the early 80s, okay, that was sold to you as freedom. You're too young to know that, but
Yeah.
I was out selling PCs, personal computers, as a kind of a freedom. Now you don't need to be bound by a mainframe anymore or go to the work anymore. You can have your computer at home. It was super cool, great. And then the internet came in the 90s, okay, and that was also sold, as freedom. Now we can exchange information with everybody, and you don't have to pay for it. There's communication is getting smarter and faster, and websites, all that stuff. Whole industry exploded in that sense.
Yeah.
In the mid 2000s, mobile phone with iPhone in 2006. It's really not that long time ago we got like smartphones.
Yeah.
Now you remember the stuff because your world is around mobile phones, probably, which is same as my kids. But the thing is actually if I came to one of you guys and said, hey, listen, do you know what an MVS is? Would say, no.
Nope.
That's mainframe operating system, okay, from the 70s. It's still in use. It's still being used by banks and so on because mainframes are not, you cannot, very hard to hack a mainframe, actually. You need to be in the room at least. But the point here is actually that the industry has evolved, but so has the crime. And today, the cybersecurity industry is having a yearly turnover of $250 billion.
Yeah.
But the cyber criminals, and again, I have to say question marks or situation marks or whatever it's called for the number, but there's a number out there saying that the total revenue of cybercrime is actually around $1.6 trillion. And again, I think the number is inflated in some way or form, but there's no doubt about that the number is higher than the industry. And that's a problem. Okay, now you have an industry that is not working. It's not giving any value, but it's trying to sell you a lot of stuff you think you can use, or hope you can use, and then you cross your fingers and say I hope they don't find me today. But the likelihood is big. I would say PVC, Price Waterhouse, they were out with a survey a few years back saying that 9 out of 10 companies, they're actually being hacked, and some of them don't know about it.
And it's not so much a question of if you'll get hacked, but when. And so you just have to keep that in mind.
But we need to change that, Ethan, and that's what we are trying to do every morning. We are getting out of bed. So
yeah, for sure. And given that, like, that's your goal, that's what you guys are getting out of bed every morning for. Like, what role has branding for Zafehouze played in in regards to differentiating you guys like in the IT space?
It's always hard when you get out and you're showing up among 100 people with black hair. I don't have so much hair on my head, but anyway, you show about up around 100 people with black hair and you're red haired, okay, and then you're trying to persuade them all to be red haired.
Yeah,
You will feel a push, okay,
yeah,
and you will maybe feel like you need to change your hairstyle or actually maybe color it black or dye it black.
yeah.
But the point here is actually that if you believe in what you're doing, if you believe that the red-haired people are actually doing this much better than black-haired, I know it's a very, very bad, comparison, but anyway, it gets the picture across.
Yeah.
Then you need to stick to that, and that's what we do. We know our technology is much better than everything else out there, and people are laughing about it, but until they're trying it, and then they're trying to break it, and
Yeah.
we have third-party evidence that the things is working. Okay. So it's not that is the problem. The problem is to persuade people or help them to realize that there are other things in the world that can actually help them in a different way. That's
And now,
that's
and
the
now,
tough one.
and now it's just about getting people to understand that and getting in front of the right people. Once you get in front of the right people, once you get them to actually try your thing, then they're blown out of the water. But now it's just we got to get people to try it essentially, right?
But again, who's the right person in an organization? I can meet two infrastructure guys, and one of the guys is saying, "I understand this completely. We need to have it," and the other guy is saying, "Get out. I don't even really want to talk to you."
Uh-huh.
And then the same goes with CFOs or CISOs or CISOs or CIOs for that matter.
Yeah.
Some of them get it. Some of them understand that, hey, this is actually a new cool way to look at things and access my information in a secure way.
Yeah.
And other people are saying, well, I believe that I have my CISSP exam. I'm a CISSP myself, very long way back. I'm a SOC architect or security operations center architect. I've created a few of those as well. I understand technology. I understand the security part of it. I understand, how you're monitoring and absorbing these things and trying to triage and do mitigation and a lot of other things. It takes time, okay, and it's complex and it's just it's not a sustainable way to do things anymore. We need to get in front of what we call the zero-day event, so the 0 day cannot happen. So the vulnerability cannot be exploited. That's the point here. You're creating a solution where even though you have like an unpatched server, there's no impact on that server. Like the boxer, he's trying to hit you, but he cannot ever find that server. And that's the technology we try to convince the world that it's a much better way to do it, and it's cheaper, it's
And do
faster.
you think right there, do you think that's where the education piece of it comes into play?
Yeah,
Okay, for
it's
sure.
because people don't understand when I'm sitting in a meeting room, I ask them three questions. Okay, I ask them, do you have a headache? Yes or no? And if they say no, I'm kind of halfway out of the room.
Yep.
If they say yes, I will ask them, are you ready to change? If they say no, I'm like 80% out of the room.
Yep.
Okay. Because then it's no. And the last thing, do you have a small budget that we can actually, get this going for? It doesn't have to be big, $5,000, $10,000, or whatever.
Yeah.
But do you have a little sum of money that we can actually get the project going? And if it's a no, I'm saying, hey, listen, guys, I have a better thing to do. Not that I don't respect that you what you are where you are. But
Yeah.
but the point is actually there's another guy next door. He's actually saying yes, and he's a preferred customer over you guys. So whenever you realize you have to change, come back.
For sure. I mean, at the end of the day, the money dictates where the attention should be when it comes to business.
Yeah, we are really not into the money, isn't actually, to be honest,
For
because
sure.
the thing is actually when you have the experience and you have the ability, I think you also have the responsibility to go out and help people getting away from this cybersecurity mess that we are in right now.
Yeah.
And again, we don't have any depths in the company. I can actually sell our platform for $1 and still make money.
Yeah.
We're not interested in that in any way or form because it provides a lot of value. But the good thing is actually that when we have a mobile company with 130 million subscribers and they only want to pay 10 euro cent per per client, well, we're still making $10 million a year,
There you go.
okay, per month. Okay, so it's the volume that's driving the business here, right?
Absolutely. No, it's a
But
volume.
but asking 20 million or $20 per client for a mobile subscription, we cannot add that to the subscription, of course. Nobody will pay that. So
Yeah.
so we need to adjust it and find the right spots for where our technology can go in and where and how it makes value. Okay.
Okay. Nice. And what is your pricing? Like if anyone's listening to this and they're interested in doing that, do you guys have a set pricing at the moment, or is it just kind of variable?
No, we have a set price, and it's actually around $22 or euros per month for a user. It's that's on the base level. We have an enterprise version that's a little bit more expensive.
For sure.
In that price, there's a lot of modules that are being added when we develop it, and it's being provided free of charge. So we have a different way of licensing. We are not having complex licenses. It's not based on the number of servers or the number of whatever. We have
Devices.
how many users do you have? Okay, I
Yeah.
have 200. Fine, 200 times, bang, that's your monthly payment.
Yep. Easy enough.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, Niels, really appreciate the conversation here. Where's the best place for people to contact you if they're wanting to learn more about Zafehouze or have a conversation?
Yeah, well, reach out to us directly, either email, phone, or just look us up. Website, safehouse.com, LinkedIn. That would be, of course, their ideal contact methods.
For sure.
Otherwise, we're here, so people can just call us day and night.
There we go. Love to hear it. Awesome. Niels, thank you very much. And yeah, we'll be speaking soon enough. Thanks.
Thanks. Cheers.